Holy cow, folks, I cannot tell you how wrong RFK Jr. is about vaccines and food allergies. He recently made some remarks related to the aluminum adjuvants that are found in vaccines to enhance the immune response and his concern about that causing food allergies. He even admitted that there's not enough evidence, but he still puts it out there to scare and confuse people about vaccinating their children. Aluminum has been used in vaccines since the 1930s. It is like a placeholder where it helps hold the particular antigen, what we want to make an immune response, and makes it a stronger response. Without it, it is not as effective when you give these vaccines because the immune system is not going to have enough time to look at those antigens and start to make memory cells as well as antibodies to help either prevent infections or reduce the risk of severe disease. And so if we were to see that aluminum adjuvants were increasing the rates of food allergies, we would have seen this generations ago. This is really nothing new. And there was a large Danish cohort that had over 1.2 million children that showed that the cumulative exposure of aluminum from vaccines does not increase the risk of developing allergic or autoimmune diseases. He also made the claim that these adjuvants skew the immune response towards something called Th2 inflammation. And while that is true in mouse models, it doesn't actually play out clinically as increasing the risk of developing allergic diseases. It's one thing to say that you could have that change in the immune response. Another is to say that you're actually becoming sensitized to a particular allergen where you generate IgE antibodies that are specifically binding to a particular food protein and causing an allergic disease. That whole process does not actually happen from a tiny amount of aluminum adjuvant in these vaccines. And the cumulative amount of exposure to aluminum actually comes from other sources for babies. Like breast milk has a lot more aluminum in it compared to what is actually seen in vaccines. He also made the claim that researchers were not allowed to study this issue, which is completely false. There are several major organizations that do a lot of good work trying to figure out what is going on with food allergies, including FAIR, the American Academy of Allergy, Asthma, and Immunology, the American College of Allergy, Asthma, and Immunology, COFAR. All of these different organizations have been working really hard at this, but the federal funding actually is not there. When you consider a chronic disease that affects about 10% of the population, they only get a fraction of federal funding for research compared to other diseases that are not nearly as common, like inflammatory bowel disease. And so there needs to be a greater emphasis and focus on food allergies, but looking at it from the standpoint of vaccines, we have already thoroughly looked into this and debunked this, and we need to be spending our resources on other issues related to potential development of food allergies like pesticide use, changes in the gut microbiome, vitamin D deficiency, C-sections, etc.